If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Chapter 10 has an emphasis on group leadership and problem solving. Leadership is an individual who influences a group to achieve a common goal. So this can be anyone in your group, depending on strengths and weaknesses, and it can also be more than one person. Formal leadership is an individual who overlooks the group. This helps keep people on task and keep the flow of conversation going in the same direction. Informal leadership, emergent leadership, is individuals who help decide others on what their leadership role is. So this is very indirect, and this can come with very positive contributions to the group. So I could say to Haley, "Oh, good job on contributing to this," and she could take the role of becoming a leader. I don't know how to say that. Shared leadership functions is roles that help the group work smoothly. So this is everyone working in the group together to be positive with no negative actions. Task leadership roles are used to obtain information. So this is the whole group working together. So the giver provides content for discussion. This is our whole group because each and every one of us provided content for this presentation. The seeker asks questions to verify information. So for example, this was me in our group because I didn't understand one of the concepts we were learning. So I asked the questions to verify for me and for the rest of the group to understand. The analyzer explains content to the group. So this was Haley. When I did not know the answer, she explained it to me and talked about understanding every step of the way for me and the whole group. Maintenance leadership roles are behaviors that help the group be successful. So this is commitment and encouragement for the whole group. There's the supporter who encourages through positive words. There's the interpreter who is knowledgeable about the orientation of the group to help everyone get along. So this is being knowledgeable about the ideas of race and gender. There's the harmonizer who helps resolve conflict in the group. There's the mediator who compromises conflict during discussion. So if me and Nick were not getting along, Rania could step in and say, let's just use some of Morgan's ideas and some of Nick's ideas, and let's meet in the middle to make everyone happy. And then there's the tension reliever. So this breaks tension, and it's very different from a harmonizer because usually they use humor, and the tension reliever usually comes in with humor in a very stressful time, so after long, tedious hours of working on a project together. Okay, and lastly, there's procedural roles. Well, there's communication for the group to be successful. So there's a logistic coordinator who arranges the group meetings and says when and where everything is. There's the expeditor who keeps track of the agenda, who knows what we have to do, when we're going to do it, and then keeps the tasks of what we got done. There's the gatekeeper who keeps the flow of conversation. So this is making sure everyone talks and not one person is taking over talking for the whole group. And then there's the recorder who takes notes on the work, writes down whose ideas are what, and then writes down where we left off so we know where to pick up.
All right, and then there's shared leadership roles. So the first one, you should be committed to the group project, or the group goal. So find a way to align your knowledge and with agreeing on a goal, and demonstrate responsibility and be committed to that one goal. Next, keep discussions on track. Make sure comments are relevant to the topic and don't get off track with the discussion. Next, complete the individual assignments on time. Divide each task evenly among the group, so each group is responsible for a certain task. Next, encourage input from all members. Express yourself and make an effort to make an opinion. And lastly, manage conflict among the members. Conflict can be a benefit, so manage how you approach the certain conflict. Guidelines for meeting leaders. So before the meeting, prepare and distribute an agenda. An agenda is an organized outline of info and decisions that need to be covered. Agendas should move the group towards the goal. They can email, post it to the group's webpage, or hand deliver it. Also, the agenda, you should distribute it at least 24 hours before the meeting so members have time to prepare for it. And a meeting later, you are responsible for providing the info members need to prepare. Next, decide who should attend the meeting. In most cases, all group members should attend the meeting, but once in a while, one or more members may not attend it, but you have to inform them later. Next, manage meeting logistics. Your responsibility to confirm the meeting arrangements are made inappropriate. Meetings should be shorter than 90 minutes and have breaks every 90 minutes to reduce fatigue. There's two different meetings types. There's face-to-face, and that's where you're in a classroom or a meeting room and you need a good-sized room, you need a table, and you need equipment for work. And there's also a remote meeting, so it's like kind of like a FaceTime, so it's like online, so you just need proper technology for it. And lastly, speak with each participant prior to the meeting. So understand members' positions and personal goals. Time spent discussing issues in advance allows you to anticipate conflicts that might happen during the meeting, and you can plan how to manage them. And then during the meeting, review and modify the agenda. So review the agenda and modify it based on members' suggestions. It gives your group a chance to provide input and that is going to be discussed. Monitor member interaction. So if the discussion is heated, you may need to take on the role of harmonizer or tension revealer. Next, monitor the time. So make sure the group stays on schedule and don't get off task. Next, praise in public or reprimand in private. So a good opportunity to praise individuals or entire group for a job well done. It boosts self-esteem for the group members. Criticizing has the opposite effect. It deflates self-esteem and motivation. Check periodically to see if the group is ready to make a decision. Listen for agreement among members and move the group into formal decision process. Implement the group's decision roles. You are responsible for executing the decision making rule the group has agreed to use. Next, summarize decisions and assignments. So summarize what has been and what is left to accomplish, and then lastly, set the next meeting. Following up, review the meeting's outcomes and process. Good leaders learn how to be more effective by reflecting on how well the meeting went. Prepare and distribute a meeting summary. Some groups have designated recorders, so make sure you review the minutes and compare them to your notes before they are distributed. Summaries are useful when they're given within 2 or 3 days after the meeting happened. And repair damaged relationships. So help repair relationships by seeking out these participants and talking with them. And then lastly, construct informal progress report. You should check to see if they encountered any problems in completing the tasks and how to help them.
Okay, so we're going to start with an activity. We're going to play a round of hangman. So if we can get 4 or 5 volunteers. And then you guys come on up. Okay. And so we're going to give you a word. We're all going to give you assigned roles, and you're going to play those out trying to solve the word hidden above. And it'll be roughly 4 minutes in time. And then if the group still can't decide or like come to a consensus on what the word is, or if they fail to guess it in the amount of guesses provided, then we as leaders will step in and help them and assess their progress. So if you are unable to understand the causes of a problem, it is impossible to solve it. This was from NATOCon. So there's some guidelines before a meeting to help the participants actively participate. So before the meeting, you'll be given an agenda, which will be forwarded to you, emailed, or given in person. This will help you assess the topic ahead. You're going to want to study the minutes, so how long it takes them roughly. You're going to want to do your homework on the subject. If there's a topic area that you're unfamiliar with, you're going to want to inform yourself on that. List questions you might have during the presentation, or when you get there, questions you can address that will help you further understand what they're presenting to you. And then you're going to want to plan to play a leadership role and that's going to allow you to further your group and provide with the task ahead. And so then during the meeting, you're going to want to listen attentively, make sure that you're paying attention, and this will allow you to stay focused. So instead of distracting yourself with other ideas or thoughts, you're going to want to clearly participate and be thinking about what the speaker is giving. You're going to want to take notes on these topics. Make sure you have a nice study outline that they presented to you, and then you'll want to play the devil's advocate and monitor your contributions. This makes sure that you're actively participating and that you are helping the group as a whole instead of just sitting there. For a follow-up, you're going to want to review and summarize those notes that you took in class. Make sure that you add or look up words in case they presented something you were unsure of. You're going to want to evaluate your effectiveness in the group to make sure that you are able to fully contribute to the max. You're going to want to review the decisions that went down, whether you agreed with them or not, and further back up why. And then you're going to want to communicate your progress with the group. So make sure you meet up with them again and assess what went well and what didn't. And then you're going to want to make sure you've officially completed the task, whether you turn it in or you write up review or summary. And then you're going to want to review the minutes that this all went down and took. So there's three main formats of communicating. There's the written formats, which is like a written brief or like a comprehensive report. So that's going to be like an assessment or like a summary review. And it can be an executive summary. There's the oral formats, which is an oral brief or an oral report. These are going to be given more directly face-to-face and in person. And it's a synopsis or a symposium. And then there's a panel discussion where you can have a panel ahead of you, and then they can be asked questions and presented, and they'll all speak as a whole and communicate with the person who has the question. And then lastly, there's virtual formats, which is the remote accesses and the streaming of videos. These can be in the form of like a YouTube video and whatnot. So in evaluating group effectiveness, there's two main kinds. There's the group dynamic, which is how the group interacts to achieve a goal. You're going to want a positive, healthy one, so you're going to want to communicate and actively contribute to the group. And then there's a group presentation, which is the effective group presentations depend on the quality of individual presentations as well as the overall group performances. And then the individuals of a group are the components that make up this factor. And so you're going to want to have strong individuals, but you also want them to be able to work as a group to make it for a strong group that participates well.
Alright, so now we're going to move on to systematic problem solving. We're going to explain what it is and then how to get to solve a problem effectively by making a high quality decision. So this systematic problem solving, it's a method that has 6 steps that each person or a group can go through to solve a specific problem. So we're going to go over those 6 steps. The first one is to identify and define the problem. And then the second step would be to analyze the problem. Third step is to determine the criteria for judging a solution. Number 4 is identifying alternative solutions. 5 is evaluating a solution. And then 6 is implementing the solution. So through identifying the solution, you can use a written statement to find out what's going on and what that problem is. You can ask a question as far as like if we have this solution or if we implement this specific solution, what is going to happen? Where are we going to go from there? And there are 3 specific questions that would help you use a written statement that all the group members understand what the problem is. The first question you can ask could be a question of fact. So is it true or not? And if it is true, to what extent? And then the second question could be a question of value. Is this a good solution, moral, right or wrong? And then question of policy, which is if there is any rules that need to be followed in order to implement that specific solution. Now moving on to step 2, which is analyzing the problem. So through the analyzing process or step, you need to find out all the information about a specific problem. And that one can be done if you encourage the group members to share their ideas and thoughts. You can conduct a research. You can take expert opinions, so a person that is familiar with that subject or knowledgeable about that specific issue or problem. You can also interview people, and then you can take some surveys to help you gain more information. Now, moving on to step 3, which is determining the criteria for judging the solution. So the criteria could be established or created by the group members, and this criteria will help us judge that specific solution to see whether it fits the problem or not. So there are some questions that you could ask, whether this fits into the criteria or no, how good it is for that criteria, does it have to have a time frame to be done, and such questions. So step 4 is identifying alternative solutions. It is always a great idea to have a lot of alternative solutions, because then that will help you list the pros and cons of each one to find the best solution for that specific issue or the problem. So there are a lot of things that you have to not do throughout this step. One of them would be discouraging. You have to have encouragement for the group. You can't just discourage first ideas. You have to help the people just throw in their ideas and thoughts, because that will help you get to the best solution. And then have variety of them. You can do brainstorming, just pretty much being creative and listing ideas without making any judgments about them. And then one team member or two can decide to record those ideas, so then we can have them for later. Now, step 5 would be evaluating that specific solution. So after we've found out a lot of information about the problem, we identified it and defined it, then we had the variety of solutions, we just need to evaluate the ones that we have. So we can list all the solutions, eliminate the ones that do not meet the criteria that we created as a group, and then move on from there. So we need to find the best one, we need to compare each solution to the criteria, and eliminate the ones that do not fit to that one. So through that step, you can seek, if the group is making the decision, there are methods that they can go by to make that specific decision. Or if you're just doing it by yourself, then you can just present your work to the other person. As a group, there are 6 methods that we need to go through in order for us to pick that best solution. So the first one would be an expert opinion. So you can take, if one person through the group is more knowledgeable about that issue, you can take their opinion on it and then go from there. You can take majority of the group votes, so you list all the solutions and see where the majority of votes falls under. And then you can take the consensus, which is pretty much keep deliberating on that specific solution until the team members agree on it. Sometimes there is 1 or 2 group members that won't agree on it, but they can live with it and they can choose it for that specific period. And then finally, the unity or unanimous group method, which is harder than the other one, because you have to have all of the group members agree on that specific solution in order to implement it. And now moving on to the final step, which is implementing the agreed upon solution and assess it. So through this step, you have already done everything that you could do. All you can do right now is fill in the gaps. Just add more details that you could to that problem solution method. And then you can make recommendations, you can review the tasks if there are any, you can divide them between team members, assign time for each team member to finish that task, and then assess success. So you have to see where you're at as far as like the success, because if you're able to do that, then you'll be able to find the best solution and implement it the best way you can. And then finally, revise or replace. So if there's anything through the assessing success step that you can change or don't like, then you can change through that step. And that is all we have for number 6 of the problem solving methods. We can just take it.
And so then we're going to be able to pass out a little summary of just our presentation to you guys. They'll further allow you to keep in mind chapter 10, which is group presentation.
We have a copy for each of you guys, so we're just going to hand them out to you.